Hi, this is Kevin Smith, the product manager of How the Market Works, and this is going to be a webinar talking about the new features available for fall 2019. So first and foremost, How the Market Works is owned by a company called Stock-Trak. This is the high school version of our university trading platform. And this is actually our 30th anniversary. So we were started in 1990 with one class of 30 students, and as of this year, it's our 30th anniversary, and we serve about 750,000 students every year. So as part of the changelog posted in the How the Market Works Education Center, we've also provided an interactive timeline showing how we've evolved over the last 30 years in case you're interested in finding it. Some of the new stuff that's actually going to be impacting your classes. So the first one is our new diversification rules. This was actually added in the spring, but it was added after most classes already started, so you may or may not be familiar with it. Basically, with a diversification rule, teachers now have the ability to put a cap on how much students can invest in stocks or mutual funds. So, for example, you can say my students can only invest half of their portfolio in stocks, the rest they have to put in mutual funds, or vice versa. So, this is a good way to make sure your students actually do diversify their portfolio a bit by security type, and it makes it a little bit more interesting to make sure they have some more interesting investing strategies coming into play. At a wider scale, we also changed the class creation flow quite a bit. You can duplicate your previous class contest. So if you don't remember all the settings you used, you can basically copy an older one. We hid some of the more complicated rules that most teachers usually don't change, just to make the process a little more streamlined. We integrated the assignment creation right into class creation flow, and you can duplicate your previous assignments as well. For this one, because it's a bit bigger, let me walk through how it actually works. So if I go to the How the Market Works website, I'm logged in with my teacher account, and I go to create a contest. So now when I create a contest, I am going to get a pop-up, and everything for my contest is here. If I want to copy a previous class, I can just click it here. I can pick the class. It'll show all the settings I used before. If I click create, it's going to pre-populate everything what I had before. The only thing you need to enter is the class contest name. So I'll use, this semester. The group type. So the group type is the type of class you have. This is going to impact the types of recommended assignments we do later, and a description for your students to see it in their class. So when we're talking about best practices of how the market works, generally speaking, the longer you set the trading period, the better. You want your students to get the most exposure they can to the real market news impacting decisions that they make in the portfolio. So if you can, start the trading period as soon as you can in the class. If you really don't want to start the trading period until you get to the investing unit of your class, that's also okay. But we recommend having the trading period extend after your class ends. So you can have this go as far as you want in the future. So I could have this end in 2030, which is fine. That way your students can keep coming and keep practicing even after your class ends. But either way, the longer the better for this. And that means the longer the class portfolios are going to update, and the more exposures your students will get to the real world. Once you have the date set, you pick your basic rules of what the class looks like. So currency, cash, they start with $100,000 is the most common because it makes a lot of the math easier for students, but you can change that around as much as you like. Stocks, mutual funds, Canadian, etc. Can they short sell? Can they day trade? Can they margin trade? Generally speaking, turning on day trading increases class engagement quite a bit because it gives the students the option to react to news a lot faster. Trade notes also is a very good idea. This means students need to write an explanation every time they place a trade. So this one is a pretty big factor in making sure students are connecting what's going on in class to what's going on in their portfolio. So portfolio resets, can students reset their portfolio? Do you as the teacher want to be in class rankings? And public portfolios means the students can see each other's trades. For best practices with these kinds of rules, generally speaking, we recommend turning off portfolio resets. Now, with that said, you can also turn portfolio resets on for the first week or so of the classes. That way, if the students get in there and they do something wrong for the first week or so, they have the opportunity to come to change it. And then you can come in later and turn it off to make it so after a certain cutoff period, students are just stuck with what they've done. Um, do you, as the contest creator, want to be in the rankings? Generally speaking, yes, you do. Classes that have the teacher in the rankings often can double the class participation and the class excitement because it becomes a game not just of the students trying to beat each other, but they want to see if they can beat the teacher in the rankings as well. Public portfolios, this is where your students can see each other's trades. You can use this if you really want this to be a pure learning exercise and you want the students to be actively learning what each other are doing. But the drawback is a lot of times it just becomes all of the students trying to copy what the person in first place is doing. So if that starts to happen, you're really getting away from the learning side of things. And so in most cases, we recommend turning public portfolios off. Um, These aren't usually used for most classes, but we also have some advanced rules. This is where you can configure the diversification limit I just mentioned, the position limit, which is very similar. Basically, the diversification limit would apply to all stocks, whereas the position limit would apply to one stock. So with this rule right here, the student is allowed to put 100% of their portfolio in stocks, but only 25% of their portfolio in any single stock. So they need to pick at least 4 different stocks to use all their cash. You can also configure the commissions, the minimum prices, and the commissions and diversification limits for mutual funds. So once you click next, this is that built-in automatic assignment that I was talking about. So the types of assignments that are going to be pre-selected are going to be based on what you said you were teaching this semester. So for a high school personal finance class, a lot more of the personal finance activities are going to be selected by default. If you're in a business class, they're going to have a couple of personal finance stuff going on, but it's also going to emphasize a lot of the career development and the business tasks that are built into it. So in either case, once you have the assignment set up the way you like it, give it a name. And you'll choose the start dates and end dates. What tends to work best is assignments that go for about a week in length. That way you can give your students between 10 and 15 activities. These activities, for example, this is an article. It's between 1,000 and 2,000 words. We use pictures, we use infographics, we use videos whenever possible, and each one of them ends with a pop quiz. So the students need to take the pop quiz in order to get all the questions right. As they go on, more of these activities have to do with personal finance. There's tutorial videos built in for students to understand how to manage their portfolio, and there's career development stuff that talk about certifications, finance history, how to apply for a job, how to build their resume, and things like that. You can also require your students to make certain types of trades or use different order types. So other new features, manage users. So this is a big new feature that was not there before. So this is a brand new report. Once your contest has been created, we'll go to the My Contest page to see the list. And there is going to be a brand new button next to your class contest talking that says Manage Users. So if we go to this Manage Users page, it's going to give you your class, and it's going to show you all of the students in your class. And there's a lot of stuff you can do here to manage the students. So the two biggest ones, edit. This lets you change the username of any student in your class at any time. So if somebody registered with something inappropriate or you wanted your students to use a certain username format, you can come in here and change them. You can also reset their passwords. So if your students lost their password for some reason and they can't get into their account because they don't have their email address specified or something like that, you can come in here and reset their password yourself at any time. And last is a remove button. So if there's somebody in your class who shouldn't be there, just click remove and they're kicked out of your class. Another important part of this page is the new generate accounts feature. So this is a whole new way to get your students registered and how the market works. In this case, all you're going to do is you go to this manage users page. You're going to give a prefix. So this is going to be, I'll say for example, Knights, because that's the mascot of the high school where I went. The average age of the user in your class, and how many logins do you need. So for example, I need 5 logins for my class. You'll click add, and it's going to generate those 5 accounts that you needed. So it gives some randomized usernames based on what you specified, and the passwords for each student. So just distribute these to your students and they can log right in. Now, once you've generated these accounts, they're also down here, so you can change their username to something else, you can reset their password to something else, or whatever else you need to do. So you'll also get a registration confirmation email with a copy of this, but other than that, you will not be able to recover these passwords later. So if you lose them, you'll just have to reset the password from this page. We also are about to release our new library of lesson plans and presentations. So we've been developing some customizable lesson plans that use both the assignments that are built into how the market works, activities that use a stock game that it's on how the market works, along with other in-class activities that you can use relating to personal finance and investing topics. Along the same vein, we took some of our most popular assignment tasks and we built them into Google Slides and PowerPoint presentations that you can use as part of your class. So instead of just assigning the article or the video for your students to work on their own, you can also use it as part of the direct instruction time in class. So for example, this is an example of one of our lesson plans. So we have a list of activities, we give the approximate time it's going to take, we talk about the national standards it applies to. We cover some of the basic vocabulary, and we go through it. There's a huge amount of new lessons that basically cover this general topic. So this is one of the articles that we have available. There's a link both to the article and the accompanying presentation that you'd be able to copy to Google Drive to use for your own class. So like I said, so some of these are stuff that we've developed in-house. Some of it we refer to third-party resources when applicable. Some of them are individual activities, some of them are full class activities, and everything in between. And at the same time, this is what some of the presentations look like. It takes the same content that we had available as part of the lessons itself, but we turned it into a PowerPoint that you can use to talk about with your students. We host all of these with Google Slides by default, which means that if you use that in your class, you can just copy this presentation to your own drive and make any customizations you want. We also have every single one of them available as a download for PowerPoint. So these should be available by the beginning of September, and when they are, they'll all be available as part of the teacher resources on the main menu and how the market works. Last but not least, we have, as part of the premium version of our high school site called personalfinancelab.com, we have a new budgeting game and a bunch of other new features. So if you haven't heard of it before, Personal Finance Lab is the ad-free premium version of how the market works. It has a ton of teacher reports. There's over 300 of those assignments, all aligned to standards for personal finance, economics, and business at the high school level. And it has our awesome new budgeting game. So if I jump over to our Personal Finance Lab website, you can see the difference right away. Because there's no ads, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot easier to see for students and work with. The assignment that teacher sets up is right on the side of the page here. It's got a countdown for when it's due. If I go to the trading page, you can see there's a lot, it makes it a lot easier for students to work with. I can type the company name and get the symbols that match. It loads up the logos, it loads up interactive charts. I can see a simple chart depending on what I want to see, or I can see an advanced chart where I can get different date ranges. I can see different chart types. I can compare it with other stocks. If I look down the page here, we put the company news, company profile, who are they, what they do, analyst ratings, so what's Wall Street saying about this stock, financial statements going back over 15 years. They can view them annually or quarterly, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, price history statements, a ton of other stuff. In terms of teacher reports, there's quite a lot of exportable reports for you, summary reports, ranking reports, historical data. We even have a custom report builder where you can grab any information you want for your class and export it however you want to see it. For the budgeting game that's available, this one puts your students in the role of a college student with a part-time job. They have a series of fixed expenses each month that you as a teacher select. So for example, how much are they paying in rent? What are their energy bills? What's their utility bills? Everything in between. You also determine how much money they earn at their part-time job. So for example, I have a credit card payment that came up here. So I hit the 19th of the month on my first turn. So I need to make sure I pay off my credit card bill from the last time I was playing the game. So I continue, and then it looks here. Oh, and on this card, I happen to have a good thing happen. I allowed people to stay in my driveway, so I earned some extra money. If I continue, at the end of the week, I get my paycheck from my work, and I get statements showing how my net worth has been moving for the last week. So if you want a full demo of our new budgeting game, we'd love to give it. So just let us know. You can contact me, Kevin at howthemarketworks.com, or sales@personalfinancelab.com, and we'll be happy to schedule one. Otherwise, that's it for new features. There's new stuff that we're planning on rolling out over the summer, so stay tuned. And pay attention to the emails we'll be sending out because we'll be making lots of announcements over the next couple of months. So have a great semester, and I hope to see your classes come in soon.